Today I've had very important meetings in Baghdad with the president of Iraq, the prime minister, and the foreign minister, and we spoke about the bilateral relations between the two countries. And particularly, we tackled the most recent developments in Syria. Thank God, the relations between Iran and Iraq are moving in a very positive way after the successful visit by Dr. Kazishkian to Baghdad. And this visit that included Erbil, Basra, because the relations between Iran and Iraq are moving in a very good course, and the agreements reached in this visit by the Iranian president are now being implemented, and we have agreed to take more steps into this line. But regarding the issue of Syria, we have had consultations, very close consultations with the brothers here, and there is a matching viewpoints about the threats arising, the threats against Syria and the Syrian people, and the repercussion of this on the neighboring countries and the whole region. Therefore, we took the decision to continue our activities in a joint way in the whole region and on the international level. The three-party meeting between Iraq, Iran, and Syria was held this evening, and my dear brothers here highlighted this, and I only want to reiterate and emphasize that the message of the three-party meeting today between the foreign ministers of Iran, Iraq, and Syria is a clear message. The message is that there were three messages actually. The first message is a message of support and solidarity with Syria as government and people and their combating of the terrorist groups, the Takfiri terrorist groups, which with no doubt at all, this is happening through an American Zionist conspiracy and supporting these attacks. And if someone wants to ignore the role of the Zionist entity in this, it would be very wrong. The Takfirist terrorism and the Takfiri groups that were listed as terrorist organizations by the United Nations, Tahrir al-Sham and the Nusra Front and others, they have launched attacks on Syria as government and as people. And the Syrian government and the Syrian people and the Syrian army are now confronting these groups. And in this course, we have declared our support to Syria. The Islamic Republic of Iran has always supported Syria and will continue to support Syria with all its weight and with all what Syria would need and what Syria would demand from us. The second message was that the terrorist threats against Syria will not be limited to Syria. It will not be limited to Syria only, but will be a threat to all the neighboring countries and the whole region. If Syria becomes a safe haven for terrorists, we need to expect the resurgence of ISIS and other terrorist groups. That will be a threat to the whole region, and this threat will not be limited to Syria, but will affect the neighboring countries like Iraq, Jordan, and Turkey as well. The important point is that we need to know that terrorism has no borders. Terrorism recognizes no borders, and to confront terrorism, we should not be limited to borders. We need to confront the terrorists in their cradle, in their own homes and nests, or else terrorism will be everywhere. If you wish to protect our own safety and security, we need to protect the safety and security of our neighboring countries and to help them to confront the phenomenon of terrorism. The third message of our meeting was that terrorism should not be segmented into different categories, and we should not be discriminating while confronting the HTS and Nusra and all the other groups that are currently clashing with the Syrian government have been listed as terrorist organizations by the United Nations. So there is an international duty to confront this terrorism. The International Coalition Against Terrorism should not be discriminating between certain terrorists and others. We don't have good terrorism and bad terrorism. We need to confront all terrorists. And the terrorism list has been defined and decided by the United Nations. Therefore, the countries that are not moving against these movements by the terrorist organizations and remain silent about this or supporting these terrorist groups, they are responsible for what's happening and they should be held accountable for what's happening. Why are you confronting terrorism in the places where your interests are and not confronting terrorism in other places whom would be harming their interests if they do? So Iraq is a victim to terrorism. Iran has been and still is victim to terrorism. Syria is a victim to terrorism. We need to collaborate all our joint efforts against terrorism, and the international community should support the efforts of this region against terrorism, especially the takfirist terrorism that we are witnessing today in Syria, and which is continuing to commit the crimes in Syria. Once again, I wish to thank my colleague Fuad Hussein for hosting this meeting, and I hope that such meetings continue. And I also wish to thank the initiatives made by Iraq and the proposals presented by Iraq about holding meetings and doing diplomatic movements. We wish to thank Iraq for its diplomatic movements, and Iraq can count on the Islamic Republic of Iran in this context. The Islamic Republic of Iran is supporting all the diplomatic efforts to restore calm and stability in this region according to the security and political agreements signed in this region. Thank you all very much.